Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for stopping by. On today's episode, we'll be riding a wonderful mixed road surface loop. Starting from All Moto Tire, friend Dan and I will head west on Highway 2, then head south following along the Thompson River. We'll take a break in the historic town of Thompson Falls, then head back north toward Highway 2. We'll cover a short section of marvelously curvy and scenic pavement before navigating some moderately busy rough gravel roads, and even get briefly held up by a bootleg logging operation. Then it's Highway 2 east to Kyla and some nice little country back roads back to the home 20. Flowing northeasterly from near Thompson Falls, the Thompson River is a tributary of the Clark Fork River. Riding Forest Road 56 from Highway 2, the river is but a small meandering stream, but widens as you travel southward. The Thompson is known for its bull trout population and is a popular stretch of water for many a fly fisher. I did have my fly rod tucked away in the pannier, but this ride was more of a scouting mission. For sure, the Thompson's flowing waters beg of return visit. Traveling further south, beautiful sections of craggy rock formations loom large. Nestled along the beautiful Clark Fork River, Thompson Falls is a quaint little town with a few shops, restaurants, and services. Time for a short break and some lunch. From Thompson Falls, my original intended route was to take us over Vermilion Pass. Being only the beginning of May and the pass at an elevation of some 6,000 feet, there was a distinct possibility of snow that could make the route impassable. So we opted for a route around the mountain at a lower elevation. I'm glad we did. Not only did we find a wonderful curvy road above the river, but speaking with a side-by-side driver later, our suspicions were confirmed, the driver saying that they'd attempted it but had to turn back. Off the main highway, Blue Slide Road provides glimpses of the river and some curves to make a motorcycle rider smile. Blue Slide Road was certainly a surprise treat. Did I mention the number of ATVers and side-by-side operators on the roadways? This guy hadn't a care in the world about what was behind him. Thinking that he was pulling over to let me by was certainly a mistake on my part. It's a good thing the 1290 has great brakes. Being a bit rattled by my near miss, I rode past the intended turn. Getting turned around, we were back on gravel and heading north. Well, that was good. Avoided hitting a side-by-side. Now we're back in the dirt. And that, I guess, is the Vermilion River. In places, the 29 miles back to Highway 2 was a little rougher than I had anticipated, with lots of potholes and rocks. Standing on the pegs a good deal of the time, My nearly 7-decade-old out-of-shape body and sore back were not happy. I was thinking about the Excedrin in my jacket pocket, but for now, it's just deal with it. About this point, we started to encounter opposing traffic. I was being cautious on the blind corners. It was a good thing I did. This guy wasn't giving much quarter. Not a lot of wiggle room here. And then, what do my disbelieving eyes perceive? It's a shady logging operation going on. A group of guys was felling a log off the cliff, and it was sliding down the rock face onto the road. They had it cabled to their truck, but it was precariously perched, looking like it could roll my direction in a heartbeat. A minor factoid I hadn't noticed until after pulling up closer to the action. Oh, this is interesting. People falling trees across the road. Running in my direction, one of the men was motioning to me to proceed, figuring that I'd just ride between the branches and pass under the log. I started to move forward, but noticed the oldest of the logging trio had brought out a chainsaw to cut the limbs from the trunk. Gee, I guess if the thing comes down, at least I'll be merely crushed instead of impaled and crushed.
If you could fit through that, the tree's gonna stay for now, if you want to try to. I don't want to hold you guys up at all. Got Anna.
Realizing that only a couple of rocks were keeping the butt of the log from rolling in my direction, I wasn't too keen on passing. With tree limbs and treetop trimmed, I made my hasty pass around the log. A little low lead logging there. Hey, Merry Christmas. I kept thinking to myself that had my logger father been alive to see this circus, he'd certainly have had a few choice words for these guys. What else might we find along the way? Although a bit dusty, and certainly more so for Dan, following behind, the rest of the ride through the forest was lovely. After a brief bit of pavement, I decided to enjoy a few more miles of gravel road. With a raft of oncoming side-by-sides kicking up dust, we were nearing Highway 2 for the trip east to Kalispell. Rounding the corner, we were met with a rather grisly sight. Not much left of this poor fellow.
A little more dirt.
What's that?
A little more dirt.
Yeah.
Rolling up to the Highway 2 junction, it was soon apparent that road construction and waiting for a pilot car was about to slow our roll.
Okay, which way is west or east?
And I have happy news.
Huh? Say what?
Highway 2, pavement all the way home. You want a nice cold beer?
I don't think so.
No. Make you tired?
Try not to mix the alcohol and the two wheels together.
I generally don't, but if I ever do, I have one. But I don't do it if I have a long ways to go, because it will make me tired.
Following Dan's lead, I had dismounted the bike and walked over to the shady spot that Dan was occupying. I left my helmet on but had removed my gloves. While standing there, an older gentleman approached and started up a conversation. This was the guy who had attempted Vermilion Pass and turned back. I noticed that Dan didn't engage with the man. The quarter-sized, thick brown mole on his right cheek was certainly a distraction. Poor fella. As Dan and I talked later, we both agreed that either of us in that situation would have tried for a surgical removal. Not paying attention to the fact that the pilot car was about to pass by, I was caught in arrears and didn't get cranking quite soon enough. Dan, however, was paying attention and zipped out when he should have. No matter, we weren't going anywhere very fast anyway. Time to stay in line and get through the construction. The chain of lakes on this section of Highway 2 are beautiful. I always have thoughts of RVing here and spending some time on the water. The Thompson Lakes, Crystal Lake, Loon, McGregor, they're all beautiful. This time around we weren't stopping, however, and it was time to try and catch up to Dan. Happy's Inn is the popular stop-off for a lot of travelers on Highway 2. Reaching Kyla, Dan felt the need and took the lead, opting to cover a few more back roads into Kalispell. I didn't mind that at all. And just like that, after a full day of touring some of western Montana's wonderful back roads, we were back in the beautiful Flathead Lower Valley. At just under 200 miles, this mini loop was perfect for a day ride. If you like this video, consider hitting that like button. We don't post daily or weekly as some folks here might do, but we try to share our adventures as time permits. Like an old friend used to say, rubber side down and fuzzy side up. See you down the road.